Andy Shaw here. I'm interviewing Hall of Famer and University of Pennsylvania coach who has just retired, Dave Micahnik. So Dave, I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, I want to know, when you're looking back at your career, do you have any particular things that stand out as some of your favorite moments as a coach first?
Well, there are some obvious moments and then some less obvious moments that nobody else would know about. When we clinched the NCAA men's fencing championship in 1981, that was a huge thing for me, because I had trained under Maestro Chisar, who had won 2 of those, and that was a kind of an accomplishment on my part as a coach to be able to win a championship. And the '86 women's team was foil only at that time, and we had just 4 Class A fencers on the team, and they didn't have a close meet all year, including the championship match, and that was very rewarding.
Was M.J. O'Neill one of those fencers?
Yes, it was MJ,
Jane Hall?
Jane Hall, Tammy Moss, Gail Rossman. And,
right.
3 of them are in the Penn Hall of Fame, and we're working on the other one.
Where did M.J. O'Neill come from? How did she get to you?
MJ was from Concord Carlisle High School.
Okay,
in
was
Massachusetts.
Elliot doing that? Elliot Lillian?
Well, he wasn't the women's coach. Martha, I can't remember the last name.
Fine,
But-
Martha.
Yeah, but she trained, MJ trained with Joe Paczynski as well. She had been fencing
Gotcha.
about a year and a half or so at that point, and she'd been a tennis player and a diver and a whole bunch of other things, she took up fencing rather late and was very unorthodox. If you remember Joe Paczynski's teaching, he didn't want you to be pretty, he wanted you to be effective. He taught combat.
That's right.
And she was, if anything, combative. And I saw her in Tampa at the Junior Olympics, and she made the finals and knocked out one of my fencers in the process, making the finals. And so she applied early decision, and I supported the application. She came to Penn, and she went on to be a multiple All-American and NCAA champion, U.S. national champion, 2-time Olympian. She's an MD. It's one of those success stories, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, in your competitive career, are there any moments in that particularly stand out to you?
Well, you have to say that winning the national championship ought to stand out. That was from 0 athlete to U.S. national champion Olympic team in 5 years. People said, how do you do that? I said, well, you outsweat everybody. And that was very exciting.
I have the article that you won the title I brought with me to the Nationals. I blew it up. And if I recall, it says, Micahnik wins it. And it's something like that. And it talks about how that you were a shocker to the news media at the time, that you just plowed through everybody, that you were not seen as the favorite at the time. How did you come about to do that?
I didn't worry about who was the favorite. I was appraising who I would meet and who I could beat. And I didn't go there to win the championship. I went there to make the finals and beat as many of the people in the finals as I could, so I'd go to the Olympics. And when Maestro Chisar told me, he said, if you don't get at least 3rd place, you won't get to fence the individuals. I said, well, then I better bear down and get at least 3rd place. I said I can win enough bouts in this final. It was an 8-man round robin to make the team, but I don't know which ones they'll be. So I have to go like hell for every one of them, and the ones that I get will be good.
Was anyone harder than anyone else there for you?
Well, yeah. In the finals, I was in a zone, and I had Jim Margolis was tough. He'd been on the Olympic team before, and he was a national finalist before. He hadn't on the Olympic team before, and there were a number of people there that were very strong. Ralph Spinella I had not beaten all year long. I beat him in the semifinals, and I was able to play the same game and beat him again in the finals. The hardest bout was Bob Beck. He was ahead of me 4-3. And taking his blade was kind of not that easy.
Bob Beck was very impressive.
Yeah, and so I took, I had to take, and finally take again, finally, and go hit him. And at 4-4, ready fence, and he flushed at me out of the clear blue sky. I just grabbed the blade in a parry and stuck him in the leg a few times, and the light went on. But that was the focus, I guess, was the point. I can, I'm telling you touches that I fenced in the 1960s. You get the intensity of the moment to give me that level of memory. So that's got to be a big deal. I had some Olympic moments. I didn't do well in the Olympics as a competitor. I was out in the second round all 3 times. But along the way, I had some tremendous bouts and beat some very good people. And the problem was I couldn't beat enough good people all in the same day.
Was it a mental focus, a physical thing? What do you think?
Experiential. I didn't know the fencers, and I didn't have a subset of everything I knew how to do that I could do with extreme confidence and effectiveness, like the people who were used to fencing international meets on a regular basis would have put together. I was trying to do everything I knew how to do and see what works, and you need more experience, and you know not to do that. You have to have a core game. But I had some marvelous memory bouts. Gregory Chris, the day before he won the Olympic championship, I beat him 5-2.
That's fabulous.
And there's it's a whole different story, and that bout's a story into itself. Bill Hoskins kicked my tail in that pool, and then he and Gregory Chris fenced off for first place in the individuals. And I saw how Chris saw the same tempo opportunity I had seen, but I didn't know what to do with it. And I saw what Chris did with it, and he won the gold medal, and I had to fence Hoskins in the team event against Great Britain. I had the anchor bout with Hoskins.
Really?
Yeah. And Hoskins had been world champion. He had just been second in the Olympic Games, and he had kicked my tail in the individuals. And I took what I had seen Chris do, and I was able to get myself into an animal state of mind, and I did it. And I beat Bill for the United States beat Great Britain in the team event in that anchor bout. So those are memorable bouts, and I just wish I'd been able to win a lot more bouts since I could have gotten up on the podium.
And you know that Hoskins, I think to this day, is still one of the greatest. He and Alan Jay are probably the greatest fencers in English history.
Well, certainly over any length of time, with consistency of results and in more than one weapon. Jay was a world foil champion and an Olympic silver medalist.
That's right.
And Hoskins was a world champion and a Olympic finalist in his second weapon and a semifinalist in his third weapon. I mean, these are serious fencers. They'd be in my Hall of Fame just because of how great they were and how long they were that good.
I agree. Looking back at Penn.
Yeah.
Since that Penn was like a huge extended family for you, a massive family.
Right.
How do you look at that now, looking back at that very long career? Is it 31 years?
35.
35 years at Penn.
Coaching. Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about the overall looking back at the Penn experience now that you've been away for what, 6 months?
Actually, well, I stepped down as head coach in the spring of 2009, effective June 30th, naturally, fiscal year. It's had its ups and downs over all those years, but on a day-to-day basis and on a year-to-year basis and so on, I thought we didn't do so bad. People say to me, how do you make an Olympic team? How do you do, I said, every day you do as much as you can fit into that day that makes you better.
Right.
And it comes to you. And it did. It came to us. I think we had a good method. We had a good team dynamic. It was never always the same because people were always different people, different mix, and so on. But the idea of adapting to what they could do and trying to improve each fencer, try to manage the program, push the whole big snowball up the hill kind of thing, came out pretty good. I do miss it, but in time I'll get over missing it and I'll just enjoy the memories.
Well, thank you very much, Dave Micahnik.
Thanks, Andy.